Thank you so much. This has been an amazing evening, and I just can't thank everyone enough for the Global Award, Mr. Chanchlani, all the sponsors, the distinguished Board of Governors of CIF. I had prepared a whole list of people that I wanted to thank, but I think we've heard from some of them. I particularly want to thank the Premier for coming here, Harinder Thakur, the Honorary Consul General of India, Mrs. Preeta Saran, Ajit, who's become a good friend in one day, and Mr. Rahul Shastri, Barj, Dahan, and all the other very distinguished people at CIF, which is, and actually I was thinking, an amazing template for global Indians throughout the world. I happen to be the recipient of the award today, but I think everyone in this room is actually a global Indian, and I'll tell you in a minute why. I also want to tell you that the $50,000, this very generous gift, will go to an affiliate of the Chopra Foundation, which exists in India. It's called Akshay Patra. Perhaps you've heard of it. If you want to check it out, thank you. If you want to check it out, you should just go to foodforeducation.org. And right now, the Chopra Foundation and Akshay Patra and several other partners, we send 1.3 million children to school every day in India. And these children would not go to school. They are motivated to go to school because they get a meal, and frequently it's their only meal every day. So that they are both getting a meal and an education, and they're improving their cognitive capacities, and I hope that one day one of those children will be on the stage here to receive this award. I think the Premier very eloquently was quoting Rabindranath Tagore, who, other than Rumi, is also my favorite poet. And Tagore once said that every child that is born is proof that God has not yet given up on human beings. So I think these children are the future imagination of the human species, and the next phase of our evolution will depend on how we nurture the next few generations after we are gone. So I'd like to start. First of all, I was going to say a lot of things about CIF, but you heard a lot. You watched the beautiful film. There's a lot of wonderful work that's going on, and this is the only kind of work that's really important. I think the Canadian-Indian Foundation would be a very good way to study and effect changes that the Indian diaspora is capable of doing across the world. I'll come back to what it means really to be Indian today, to be Indian Canadian, to be Indian American, to be Indian Jamaican, to be Indian Ugandan, to be Indian Tanzanian, to be Indian everywhere in the world. Every seventh human being is Indian. And India is definitely the next global leader in many ways, more ways than one. I want to explore that with you a little bit. But I want to start with a very interesting story that I was reminded of as I was listening to some of the speakers. And this is an actually true story. It's about when I was about maybe 10 years of age in India, and my father was an army doctor in a town called Jabalpur. And my brother was then maybe 6 or 7. My brother now is the Dean for Medical Education at Harvard Medical School. My father was also a cardiologist, and he was at that time in the army. And one day we read in the newspaper that Mr. Nehru, our first prime minister, was coming to what was then a little town. It wasn't much of a city. And he was going to open an automobile factory in Jabalpur. It was a partnership with Mercedes-Benz and Tata, Tata Mercedes-Benz. They were going to start these trucks. And it was the first such venture in India. And Mr. Nehru, the Prime Minister, first Prime Minister, founding Prime Minister of the new India, was coming to open the factory. He was going to cut the ribbon. And for 3 weeks, there was only one conversation in our house. What was the color of the sari that my mother would wear for the occasion? And my father used to tease her, he used to say, do you think Mr. Nehru is going to notice your sari, or you? There'll be lots of people. And she would smile and say, you wait and see. So on the day that Mr. Nehru came to our town, we were there on the streets by about 4 o'clock in the morning. There was no one else. It was dark. My father was wearing his army uniform with his medals from World War II. And my little brother was in his shorts, my mother in a beautiful pink sari. And by the time it was 6:30 in the morning and the sun had come up, there were literally millions of people on the street. In India, when we say millions, it means millions. It's not thousands, it's not tens of thousands, it's not hundreds of thousands, it is millions. So there were people on treetops, there were people standing on each other's shoulders, there were people on automobiles, on bicycles, jostling, rambunctious, rowdy crowd. You couldn't have that kind of crowd at a soccer match or a cricket match